When Zena, a beautiful and ambitious lounge girl in Lagos, agrees to perform a disturbing act for a billionaire's money, she believes it's just business. But her world quickly unravels as nightmares, spiritual attacks, and a vanishing reflection reveal the truth. Chief Berima is no ordinary man, but a dark spiritualist who feeds on women's essence for power. Desperate to escape his grip, Xena turns to an ancient seer and uncovers a terrifying ritual she unknowingly became part of. Now, she must fight for her soul before she loses everything, including herself. This is a haunting folktale about greed, lust, and the true cost of dirty money. Xena was a face you didn't forget. With smooth bronze skin, a sharp jawline, and eyes that always seemed to hold secrets, she moved through the city like a whisper of temptation. At 23, she had escaped the clutches of village poverty to chase wealth in the sprawling chaos of Lagos. She wasn't looking for love. She was looking for opportunity, and her body had become her bargaining chip. She worked at a high-end lounge where men in suits ordered whiskey like water, and women sold illusions with every smile. That's where she met Chief Berima, a billionaire with a belly, a gold wristwatch, and a grin that oozed power. Rumors about him floated like perfume: political deals, offshore accounts, secret rituals. But Xena didn't care. All she saw was money, and a chance to escape the struggle. Chief Berima liked his girls young and fearless. Xena was both. He called her over one night, sitting in the VIP section with a glass of something expensive and eyes that scanned her like merchandise. "Come closer," he said, and she obeyed. By morning, she was in his mansion, one of the most talked about places in Ikoyi. He didn't ask for love. He wanted submission. And Xena gave it, including that night when he pulled off his robe and told her to worship his crown, a grotesquely large, darkened organ that looked almost unnatural. She hesitated. But the bundles of cash he waved in her face erased her doubts. She did it. And that's when the strange things began. Xena left the mansion with a thick envelope of cash and a silent scream in her throat. She couldn't forget the weight of him, the way he had moaned, not like a man, but like something ancient. And there was a bitter aftertaste in her mouth, not just physical, but spiritual. It was as though she had swallowed a piece of darkness. Back in her one-room apartment in Surulere, she showered 3 times, scrubbing her tongue until it bled slightly. She told herself it was just a transaction, just a job. Girls did worse. But no matter how many times she repeated it, a whisper kept echoing in her head: "You gave him more than your mouth." The following day, things began to shift. Xena's mirror cracked for no reason while she was applying her makeup. Her favorite wig caught fire mysteriously while hanging in her closet. Her phone, brand new last week, froze on a blurry image that looked like Chief Berima's face, except his eyes were entirely black. She called her best friend Tiga, a street-smart girl who dabbled in spirituality and street juju. Tiga listened, wide-eyed and silent, before muttering, "Xena, you sure say nah man you go meet?" "What do you mean?" Xena asked, suddenly defensive. "I mean, you may have entered covenant, babe. Some of these men are not just men. Them they use woman body collect things." Xena laughed it off at first, but when she tried to sleep that night, she had the first dream. It was vivid and cold. She stood naked in the middle of Berima's mansion, surrounded by hundreds of headless women. Their necks dripped blood onto marble floors, and from the darkness, Berima's voice slithered out, "You're next, Xena." She woke up gasping. Her bed sheets were soaked. Her mouth was still bitter. The money she had gained now sat on her table, untouched, yet smelling faintly of blood. By morning, Xena had made up her mind. She was going to spend the money. "It's just guilt," she told herself as she walked into a designer store at the mall. The cashier barely looked at her face, her eyes drawn instead to the massive wads of cash Zina handed over like they were nothing. She bought a new iPhone, gold heels, and a red velvet dress that hugged her hips like temptation. As she left the store, something strange happened. A little boy selling ground nuts by the road stared at her like he'd seen a ghost. He didn't move, didn't blink, just stared. Zina frowned. "Wet in," she snapped. The boy blinked slowly and said in a voice far too deep for his small frame, "Return it, or it will collect you." Zina froze, chills dancing across her skin. Before she could speak, the boy walked away as if nothing had happened. She turned around and hurried to her boat ride, trying to shake the fear crawling inside her. Back at her apartment, she tried to distract herself by taking photos for Instagram. She posed in her new outfit, captioning it, "Money is not evil. Poverty is." The likes rolled in quickly, with comments like "Slay Queen goals" and "Chop the money, sis." But beneath every flattering comment, there was one account that kept posting the same message. "You can't eat blood money without bleeding." She blocked it, then deleted the photos. But the damage was done. That night, her tongue turned pitch black in the mirror. She screamed and rushed to the hospital, but by the time she arrived, her tongue was normal again. The nurse said she must be imagining things. "Maybe stress," the woman added casually. "City life can fry the mind." Zina didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard the money whispering from her purse, calling her name in Barima's voice. She finally understood. She hadn't just sucked his body. She had sucked something else entirely. The next morning, Zina went straight to Tiga's apartment without calling first. Her wig was uncombed, her slippers mismatched, and her eyes swollen from lack of sleep. Tiga opened the door, took one look at her, and yanked her inside. "You look like something they chase you," Tiga said, grabbing her a bottle of water. "It's not chasing me," Zina whispered. "It's inside me." Tiga listened quietly as Zina poured out everything: the encounter with Barima, the dreams, the boy's warning, and the black tongue. Tiga didn't laugh. She didn't call her mad. She just nodded, picked up her phone, and made a call. 2 hours later, they were in the back of a battered taxi heading to a quiet village on the outskirts of Ogun State. Tiga had taken her to an old shrine run by a woman everyone called Mama Ifan, a feared and respected seer. The shrine was surrounded by white cloths fluttering on bamboo sticks. Smoke floated through the air, and the scent of camphor and old spirits lingered in every breath. Mama Ifan emerged, a tiny woman with white chalk on her face and blind eyes that somehow saw too much. She didn't ask questions. She only touched Zina's forehead and hissed. "You've swallowed what was meant to be buried," she said. "You didn't suck a man. You sucked a relic, a cursed thing he feeds to girls like you." Zina's knees buckled. Mama Ifan led them inside and threw cowries on the floor. They danced and stopped. Her face twisted. "If we don't act fast, you'll either go mad, bleed from your eyes, or wake up with no tongue." Zina clutched her mouth. "Your spirit is already being chewed," the old woman said. "You must bring something that belongs to him. Something he touched with his own mouth." Zina thought of the glass he drank from. But how would she get back into that mansion? Zina didn't sleep that night. Mama Ifan's voice echoed in her skull like a ticking time bomb. By morning, she knew what she had to do. She picked her most seductive outfit and called Barima with shaking hands. He answered on the first ring. "I've missed you," he said smoothly. "I want to see you again," she said, masking the fear in her voice. Barima sent a car within the hour. The mansion loomed larger than she remembered. The air felt thicker, and the gates opened like jaws ready to swallow her whole. As she stepped inside, she noticed something chilling: every photo on the wall featured Barima with different women, but all the women's faces had been scratched out. "Come upstairs," he called. Zina climbed slowly. When she entered his bedroom, Barima stood shirtless, his chest covered in strange tribal tattoos she hadn't noticed before. They pulsed as if alive. "You look worried," he said, lighting a cigar. "I just missed you," she lied. They drank wine. He kissed her. But this time, Zina pretended. She let him undress her, but her eyes searched the room. There it was, a golden cup on the nightstand, the one he always drank from. She excused herself, claiming to need the bathroom. When he turned away, she slipped the cup into her handbag. She hurried back to him, heart pounding. "Do you want to stay the night?" he asked. "No," she said sweetly. "Next time." He smirked. "Don't wait too long. You belong to me now." She forced a smile, then rushed out of the mansion with trembling legs. The moment she entered the cab, she opened her bag to check the cup. But it was no longer golden. It was now black. And it was warm. Back at Mama Ethan's shrine, the atmosphere had changed. The air was heavier, the fire brighter, and Mama Ethan's eyes darker. She took the blackened cup from Zina with a hiss and placed it in the center of a ritual circle drawn in white chalk and red palm oil. "You're lucky," she said, "but not safe." Zina was instructed to strip completely. A white wrapper was tied around her chest. Mama Ethan painted her face with symbols, then gave her a calabash containing bitter herbs, ashes, and something that smelled like rotting flesh. "You must drink this to purge your tongue. What you sucked has lodged in your soul." Zina gagged after the first sip. Her vision blurred. Her stomach twisted violently. She vomited on the shrine floor, blood, worms, and something that looked like hair. Tiga screamed. Zina collapsed. Mama Ethan began to chant. The shrine roared with sound, the rattle of cowries, the howl of wind, and the deep groan of something not quite human. The cup in the middle of the circle cracked open. From within, a dark, slimy tongue slithered out, wriggling like it had life. Zina screamed. Mama Ethan struck the tongue with a burning staff. It shriveled and turned to ash. "You've only burned the mark," Mama Ethan said, panting. "But not the covenant. He still owns your shadow." Zina fainted from exhaustion. When she woke up hours later, she felt lighter, but when she looked at her shadow on the shrine wall, it was no longer matching her movement. It turned its head and looked at her. Zina returned to Lagos with a stronger resolve. The rituals had weakened whatever curse grip Barima had on her, but the battle was far from over. Every mirror in her apartment had been covered. Her curtains remained shut, and she refused to speak at night. But even in silence, the shadows whispered. Tiga had moved in to keep watch. One evening, while scrolling through her phone, Tiga found a video leaked by a former worker in Barima's household. It was shaky footage of Barima deep in a forest, surrounded by masked men, pouring animal blood over a mound of female wigs and bras. The title read, "Billionaire Ritual Camp in Edo, see what this man does with women's body parts." Zina froze. "I told you he was more than a man," Tiga muttered. Zina couldn't breathe. "Why me? Why would he pick me?" Tiga turned to her slowly. "Because you were desperate. And desperate girls are his favorite meat." Zina grabbed her chest as her heart thudded. The dreams, the tongue, the shadow, it all made sense now. Barima was harvesting more than pleasure. He was collecting essence. Energy. Life force. Each time a girl submitted to him, he took something invisible but powerful. And now that Zina had broken the ritual, she had become a threat. That night, at 3 a.m., her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She picked. Barima's voice came through the line, deep and slow. You think a shrine can save you? Zina didn't reply. Next time you sleep, I'll visit you. The call ended. She dropped the phone, ran to the mirror she had covered, and yanked the cloth off. Her reflection was gone. Thank you listeners for listening to the part 1 of this story. I'd really appreciate it if, after enjoying this story, you could take a moment to like, share, subscribe and leave a comment. Your support means a lot and helps encourage me to keep sharing more stories. Bye.